Today I just have a random musing of mine I was thinking about. It has to deal with the ancient practices of ritual sacrifice. Guys like me find it interesting to find similarities between ancient cultures who weren't known to have contact with other ancient cultures somewhere far away. Now, in some cases, these similarities might not be all that interesting when you really delve into it beyond the surface level, like handbags seen in the carvings of ancient cultures. You can find them in different faraway places like the Middle East and the Americas. But when you really dig into it, is it really that strange that different cultures have handbags? It's not exactly a difficult thing to conceptualize or make. It probably isn't that strange different cultures have handbags. The same with pyramids. Pyramids can be found in different places all around the world, but some of them were built in different time periods using different methods and styles. As big and complex as some of the pyramid structures are, the concept is still pretty simple. You stack blocks on top of each other with each layer becoming a little more narrow than the layer before it. It might be difficult and time consuming to build, but the idea behind it is still pretty simple. So don't find it strange that pyramids pop up in many cultures. A lot of mountains have the same basic structure of being wide at the bottom and getting more narrow at the top. I'm not surprised people built buildings in the same style. There are other things that I think are more difficult to explain away though, like when you see the same symbol appearing in various ancient cultures around the world, or in the case of what I'm thinking about today, ritual sacrifice. It's something you find pretty much everywhere in the ancient world, regardless of what ancient culture you look at. There is usually at least some sort of offering ritual they perform, but more often than not it's a blood sacrifice ritual. Some cultures performed human sacrifice while others performed animal sacrifices. The exact procedure of the ritual might not be entirely identical in every culture, but the concept and basic structure of the ritual is usually the same. A priest will sacrifice an animal on an altar to appease or gain favor with a god. And I guess the question here is this not a strange thing for cultures all over the world in ancient and even prehistoric times to come up with on their own? Is this really an expected development for people to spontaneously come up with on their own? Now, it isn't strange to me that different cultures had the same ritual. For me, from a religious perspective, there is an origin point for all of it. But even if I stripped away the religious perspective, I'd still think there was some root origin culture all of this stemmed from. Kind of like Graham Hancock's take on the subject, that there was an advanced predecessor culture before the Ice Age that was capable of traveling the world but has mostly been forgotten about now. So this is really a question more for believers in Darwinian evolution, or even just people who might not necessarily be militant evolution supporters, but nevertheless learned about it in school and never really questioned it. From an evolutionary standpoint, why would so many cultures come up with the same ritual? Why blood sacrifices? Why would they all think that this is the way to appease a god? If the rituals were all just made up spontaneously, why are they all conducted basically the same way? Nobody had a different idea? Why not something else? Why not cut down trees and throw them in the river to appease the god? Why not dig a hole and bury rocks in them? Even if it was all just some ancient grift where some guy tried to convince others to butcher up some free meals for him in the name of a god, how is it they basically came up with the same method for doing so? So like I said, it's not really strange to me that you see the same ritual across the ancient world, because I think there is an origin point that it probably stems from. But if you don't think we all stem from the same origin, how does something like ritual sacrifice become such a common practice among ancient people with no contact with other cultures? Those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for listening.